Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Hey everyone.
Hey Pablo. Oh, hey Tessa.
Hi.
Hey Ritz. Hey Brent. Hey Tanya. Hi there, Brandon.
Hello.
Hey Norma. Lovely to see you. Hey Vikas. Hey there, John. Hey Julie. Hey there, Stacy. All right, well, while we wait for other people to join, please share in the chat. How are you doing in 3 words? How have you been doing for the last month in 3 words? Perfect. All right. Challenged, excited, hopeful. Well, I love that the smiley face counts as a word. That's great. Thank you, Melissa. Less scared. Cool. Fluid, patient, excited. Yeah, the Boulder summer is in full swing. Experimental, accepting, present. Sick, challenged, open. Alive, surviving the apocalypse. And happy. I'm learning sticky patterns. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining this this semi-informal catch-up call. Let us start with a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing, and then we'll do some hums, and then we'll just go from there and dive in. So get yourself nice and comfy in your chair. Allow your lower back to be straight. Do a few little stretches. Rolling the shoulders back can feel really nice. Arms above the head. Feeling your butt on the seat. And just take a moment to let go of whatever you've come here from. Let's take 2 deep breaths together. So leave the eyes open, close down the eyes if you prefer. Take a full inhale in through the nose all the way. And let out a sigh. One more. Full inhale in through the nose. And shake the body a little bit. Let's do 2 rounds of alternate nostril breathing. So using your right hand, your thumb will block the right nostril, ring finger blocking the left nostril. We'll be inhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, and exhaling for a count of 8. So in left 4, hold 4, out right 8. I'll guide you through. Okay, so blocking the right nostril, inhaling left, 2, 3, 4, holding, 2, 3, 4, exhaling right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhaling right, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more round. Inhale left, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale right, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now lowering your hand and keeping the eyes closed. Just be really still for a couple of breaths. Noticing any shifts, any changes that you notice, tuning inwards. And we'll finish with 2 single breath hums. So for this, you can use your hands to cover your eyes and put your thumbs in your ears and your ring fingers on your nose, or you can just hum normally if you prefer, but it's amplified if you do this. So we'll take a full breath in and then we'll hum all the way to the end of the exhale. So full inhale in through the nose, inhale, and hum. One more, biggest breath of the day, inhale. And begin. Lowering your hands. Again, just pause here for a few breaths. Maybe feeling any sensations in the face, maybe more spaciousness in the sinuses, relaxation of the eyes. Okay, and coming back into the space in your own time. Okay, well, as I said, there's not a strict agenda for this next kind of 50 minutes or so. It was really meant to be a space for both kind of like a check-in, like how are you guys doing? How have you been finding kind of the last month or so now that the NSM's ended? Space for any open questions, questions you have for me or for Ocean, things that you might have discovered in your own time, just like learnings, resources, things like that. And then also just requests for us, like ways that we might be able to make the more resources, improve things for the community. We'll share a few updates that we're working on as well. But yeah, would love to just kind of open it up for check-ins. Like, how have you guys been doing in the last 4 weeks? And what has stuck with you from the cohort that has hopefully kind of helped in recent weeks? Glenn, yeah, hi there.
Yeah. Hi, Daniel. Yeah. So I had just trying to get some of these awareness practices into place, and catching yourself. And I had a really great one when I was leaving San Francisco to come back to Austin, and I had all my stuff in the seat back of my in the plane seat back, and I got all the things I needed to have out. And then the plane started taking off, and it turns out the seat back pouch was completely open on the bottom, and everything started falling out and rolling back. And I'm frantically grabbing everything, and then really I'm just stuffing it in my bag, and I can feel myself just like, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm frustrated and hijacked, and I realized it. So I said, okay, let's do 3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Looking out at the beautiful window in the city, in the side, and did really see 3 things I saw and heard and felt, but I also added in a gratitude practice with that too, like just being grateful for like this. I'm being able to fly and see the beautiful view, and it made like it went on for 20 minutes, and just went from that frustration of everything falling and to just getting into a great state of just almost to tears of appreciation. And it was an amazing shift.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, there's something about flying and traveling that can be like, it can really bring up a lot of stuff, and it can also, there's like amazing states of like expansiveness and stillness that are possible when you're flying. It seems to have like the full spectrum, at least in my experience. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's beautiful. Vikas, hey.
Hello. So a couple of us met in New York, the three of us. So Ocean message, I've been able to respond. So yeah, we met in New York, and I'll say collectively, I think one big takeaway is that there's an ability to affect your emotions. You know, like there's ways to tap into them, whether physical, breathing, whatever it is. But just knowing that that is something you can touch conceptually, that you can modulate and dial up or down. So that just having that concept is powerful. Now putting it into practice is going to take some practice. This doesn't happen overnight. It's its own skill set. But I think, you know, to change your mental reality, it's something that you can like harness, just like any other skill you have. It was a big thing. Personally speaking, in addition to that, I think also knowing this is just a mental framework, and I share this with people all the time. One of the reasons I took the program is I always was wondering what's the purpose of emotions? They're like, biologically, why do they exist? And to have this framework that basically they either give you energy or remove energy from you, like they either speed you up or slow you down based on what you need to do in time and space, is a framework that helps a lot, actually. So like, if I'm angry, I'm like, well, there's a reason. Like, it's just extra energy. Like, now what do I do with it? And so that, I think that's big. And then I do yoga nidra like probably like 3-4 times a week.
Awesome.
It's made a massive improvement. I don't know if it's just that, because a lot of times when you do behavior changes, it's not one behavior, you do a couple. But I'm not going to question it. I've been doing it, and I know at the end of it, like I feel like I've come out of a deep sleep. And it's important for me because one of the big things for me practically is that I have 2 small kids at home, and managing that and everything was just draining all the energy out of me. And so that was a big practical thing to solve. I think that helps.
That's amazing to hear. Thank you so much. Yeah, with the Nidra and the NSDRs, I think of it as almost like it's like a domino habit, where I think doing that or meditating breathwork in the morning, it makes everything else easier during the day. So I think it has kind of like an outsized effect on all of the other kind of, whether it's like eating well or like all of the other things that we aspire to do, going to bed on time, not getting addicted to technology.
I mean, to your point, I used to be zonked out by 3 or 4. So like I had no, my intention of doing things was I had the intention, but like can't follow through it if you have no energy. So like second half of the day was a waste. And then the end of the day builds your next day.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It was like this domino effect, and I've recovered my second half of the day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I get to do not as much as I want, but that'll always happen, but I get to do productive things, and then I'm mentally ready and excited to do something the next day.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And on the emotions piece as well, I'm currently researching for like a deep dive essay on emotions, and it's interesting like how many we really don't understand what they are. Like there's a lot of different frameworks, a lot of different ideas, but really the neuroscientists are still kind of scratching their heads in terms of exactly what they are. And that, you know, people think they're decoupled reflexes and like evolutionary reasons for them, but I'm kind of back in the state of like wonder at the amount that we still don't yet know and that we're like trying to figure out.
But I think ancient, and I'll stop here and I'll take up everyone's time. I think ancient traditions understand it. Like I've come to appreciate that all those weird traditions I thought were like, I'm like, what is all this ancient stuff? I didn't make fun of it, but in my head, I'm like, oh, it's just stuff that people used to do. Like it's not important. It no longer seems like stuff that people used to do. Like people understand it. And there's just maybe not, there's people try too hard to provide scientific terms to explain them. And maybe science is not the best language to explain every single thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, at least it does seem like there's a lag, at least between like getting a good number of evidence-backed studies to support things that we have like an intuitive sense are helpful. Yeah, that's a much deeper conversation.
Yeah, I'll stop there.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. Brent, hey there.
Hello. Oh, whoa.
Great shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel
now
quite
we can
on
see it
stage.
in full size. Yeah.
It's a conversation about emotions. Definitely kind of invited in, I guess, what I've been up to, which is I entered the course with a similar curiosity, and I cannot remember the guy's name, but he had very long hair. And he also, his daughter worked in the space too. He's in Colorado. Anyway, we had that call with him, and he kind of challenged Lisa Feldman Barrett's perspective, saying, I think there are
Doug, I can't say the last name. Doug.
There it is. Thank you, Ritz.
Doug
Teamwork.
Tatarin. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, Doug, and he kind of challenged that, and it really made me think. But he said something that, in the moment, I was like, "Oh God, screw you, Doug." But it was, I meant it positively. But he said, essentially, unprocessed or stuck emotions will become part of your identity, and I have definitely had some things happen in the past couple of years to me that I noticed the way that I viewed the world change, and that kind of gave me an awareness that actually that might be more about me than the world. Shocker, right? But I knew I needed to probably process some things. So when I was in London a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was even last week, I can't remember, I had an opportunity to do a breathwork session with the Rise Room, and I had an intense physical and emotional experience that I'm sure a lot of people here know about and can kind of empathize with. But it felt like something I really needed, something I certainly need more of. And I still would have been curious, but I don't know that I would have been open for the impact in the way that I was without this course and this preparation. So, thanks to everyone in the community, because we feel a little bit more in the work.
That's amazing. That's so amazing to hear. Your piece around like emotions, there's a quote, I can't remember who it's by, but it's this idea of like, instead of trying to remove all of the spikes everywhere you walk, just put on sandals. It's kind of like the same thing. Like, instead of trying to like fix everything in the outside world, it's just changing our perspective, reorienting to different things. It's a much more efficient way. And with regards to the breathwork piece, I mean, I've been reflecting on this course myself as well, and like, what is it that I'm trying to achieve here? And I think a big part of it is really just like an on-ramp and like increasing curiosity for things like breathwork, somatic experiencing, plant medicine work, just these avenues which do generally require like a one-on-one setting, or at least a kind of intimate in-person group setting. And once people have experiences like the one you just described, it's like, oh, it's like there's something here, there's a there, and it's like and then the momentum begins to build. So I'm really happy to hear that. And yeah, as you continue to dive more, if you have questions, or I can share resources specific to breathwork as well that might be useful.
I would love it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Brent. Pablo.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I have a simple one. I can feel my feet a lot more. And to me, it's such a pleasure to feel my feet more, because I feel more in my body. And whenever something happens in my life and I'm not feeling my feet, it's a sign that I'm like disassociating from myself, which is then a reminder like, oh, let's go back to feeling my feet. And by doing that, I'm appreciating how much my body starts to relax whenever I'm feeling my feet. I don't know the exact science of why that's happening, but I can sense that whenever I leave my feet and I come back, any accumulated tension that's been living in my shoulders starts to relax by itself. And that's something pretty cool that I've realized in these last few weeks. And I'm also, how do I word this? There's a saying called hugging the cactus. And it's like hugging any difficult emotions that may be happening. And a big insight for me these the last 4 weeks of the course was, my system tends to hang out in dorsal more than in sympathetic. So using practices that support my system to move up into ventral are very beneficial. But now I've just been waking up and hugging the cactus in the morning and accepting like, hey, I give myself full permission to be in this dorsal state. And let me just be with it.
Right.
And there's been a slow but gradual less dorsalness in the morning. And I feel so appreciative that having the tools and the courage to be with that instead of like pushing it aside or not validating it has been reaping me rewards into feeling more centered.
Wow, beautiful. I can even just like, I can like feel it from you right now. I can like hear it in your voice. Like there's this sense of like groundedness in the way that you shared that. That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, thanks for
yeah, and there's definitely a piece around like I always feel slightly conflicted sharing self-regulation practices, because on the one hand they are essential and give people more agency and they're necessary, and they can also be a pitfall if they're used the entire time and we never actually welcome or like lean into the sensations themselves and they're just used as like an escape hatch. Then in the long term that's not helpful either. So I love that you've been leaning into the dorsal side of things, which in kind of like the Instagram influencer, like polyvagal world, a lot of people just like, it's all about like escaping dorsal. It's like dorsal bad, ventral good. And it's really not that simple. It's a lot more complex. And like in dorsal, that's when we recover. It's when we nourish. It's when we like, there's obviously value to all of the different states. And I think like being okay with all of them and just like accepting them is ultimately the practice, I think. So thank you for sharing that. And the piece around like feeling your feet as well, it is such a simple thing. The same with your hands as well. There's something about like bringing your awareness to the extremities of your body that is grounding. And the thing I love about feeling into your feet is you can do it anywhere. Like you could be you could be in a queue in town, you could be walking to catch a flight, and you can just excuse me, bring your awareness down there, and it's like, you feel grounded, you feel supported. And I think it does create like, I can't, there's not any studies on this, but in my experience there is a sense of like embodied safety when you can like feel the ground, and that is definitely calming.
Johnny, thanks for reflecting this, because I have also noticed I just feel chiller around people, which to my surprise was something that actually agitated me and it created like nervousness and anxiety. But by hugging the cactus, I'm realizing how that's slowly and organically just been like diminishing on its own. So it's great to hear back from your end that you're sensing more calmness through my speech.
Yeah, no, definitely. Beautiful. Thank you, Pablo. Thank you for sharing. Yanis, great to see you. You are out and about with some enormous headphones.
yeah. It's they're not headphones, actually. They're canceling outside noises.
Cool.
And yeah, I found great value, like listening to a normal volume even when you're outside, so that you don't overload your system. Yeah, so I'm so grateful that I'm in this call and I get reminded of this context, of these concepts. I mean, I've integrated a lot of practices of NSM in my life, but then there's so many stuff that I can be reminded of, like the thing with the feet. That's so powerful because I had that at one point and I lost it. And I think it's like it's the thing said in the book, like embodying emotions, like using more of your body, and then the feelings can be tolerated even more when you have access to your. I mean, many times when I'm overwhelmed, I remember, oh fuck, I have legs, and the fact that I'm overwhelmed means that I have lost access to the lower part of my body. And so yeah, all you people sharing, I'm so glad because I get back, I re-engage with the content, and I have the urge right now to go and check out all of NSM.
Cool.
And so I think the biggest breakthrough for me, since I didn't engage fully in this cohort, I'm sad about that, but anyway, I started like somatic experiencing one-on-one, and it's the absolutely most phenomenal thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, it's the best kind of therapy for trauma, and it really put words to my experience. And I'm feeling the shift from session to session, like progressing so rapidly, and me restoring vitality and opening up parts of myself that I had closed,
Wow.
and remembering sensations that I hadn't felt like for 20 years.
Wow.
And it's like this sacred feeling of I'm rejoicing with my body. Oh my God. I mean, I need nothing else. I just want to get in touch with my body. How sacred is that? Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. The other thing that I really want to do, and I have resistance, and I also would like if you could advocate for it, John, is NSDR. I didn't do it even in the first cohort. I think my resistance lies in like if I do NSDR, I might feel more, and that might be scary, and I don't want to hug the cactus. Yeah.
Wow, I got yeah, I felt emotion when you shared about your experience with somatic experiencing. I know how powerful those shifts can be, and I love that you kind of dove in, and it sounds like you found someone who you resonate with, someone who is skilled, and like that is my hope for everyone here is like find a great somatic experiencing or breath worker and just like go deep.
Yeah, okay, that's really good that you're highlighting, because that's the only problem. I mean, we have few somatic experiencing practitioners in Greece, and she is into somatic practitioner, other modalities, and NARM, which NARM I learned from the lady that does the breath work. I don't remember her name.
Connie,
Connie,
probably?
from Connie. Yeah. And she said that it's the best for developmental trauma. And so, unfortunately, the therapy that I have found is kind of abusive, which sucks. The last session was awful, even though, the first session I went there, I saw her patterns and that she had this kind of style. But after I exited the session and I felt the impact in my body, I say, okay, I'm going to tolerate this because it works so much, but it doesn't work that way. So even if the modality is right, you are absolutely right that you need also to find the right therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's I'll share in the chat here. We've curated based on our network and friends. Let's see. This is a list of people who are basically like vetted through either me or the NSM network of faculty. Quite a few of them are trained in somatic experiencing or NARM or EMDR. So feel free to browse that list and see if anyone
that's awesome.
looks like a good fit. And briefly touching on the NSDR piece, yeah, like explore your resistance to it. And I'd say that, and also just start with like the 15-minute session is not very long. And just see what happens. And if emotions arise during it, then it's probably a sign that it's doing its job, would be my sense. But yeah, it's a very simple but also potent practice. So I would really recommend at least giving it a try. Like commit to 5 15-minute sessions in like a week period, and then just go from there. Treat it as an experiment.
Okay, I'm going to do that and report back to you on NSM. I'm being held accountable.
You are now. I'll message you in 7 days to find out how
Thank you.
it went.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yanis. Okay, Tanya. I think you're. Yeah, see if I can unmute you.
How's that?
There we go.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yes.
cool. Thank you. So I just wanted to ask, I put experimental in there because I decided just to jump into a whole lot of stuff. So I've kind of had some physical illnesses that aren't shifting. And I ended up wearing this HRV monitor and getting slightly obsessed by my very, very low HRV. Anyway, I decided I'd explore London, and there's a whole lot of stuff out here. So I went to some shamanic drumming sessions, which was very interesting, to be honest. I'm going to another one this Friday. But what was fascinating is, although I'm sorry if I'm preaching to the whole lot of you who are converted in shamanic drumming meditations, but this person takes you down a guided meditation into the inside of a tree. And I found I was quite resistant to the whole process. Maybe it's in analysis of me or my brain, the way it works. I was like, what the hell is this? Why am I in the middle of Hackney going down a tree with a drummer? But there was a very stuck feeling. And I found the whole experience, it was nice. Everyone came out like journaling loads of stuff. And I was like, not sure. Anyway, interesting. The next day, my HRV is the highest it's ever been for the last maybe 9 months, 6 months.
Wow.
So there was something about that zone that really did something to my nervous system, almost subconsciously, which was interesting. So I was expecting a wow moment. And there was more of a, maybe not a Yanis type reservation, but definitely a really moment. So I just wanted to ask if anyone else had any other experiences with sort of drumming or that sort of use of music to sort of maybe equilibrate or journey. That was my first thing. And the other thing that I thought would be helpful is the last month has really made me think about true self-compassion rather than tick box self-compassion. And someone said, because of what I'm going through at the moment, someone shared on some social media about seeing their nervous system as an animal in the corner. They saw it as a little scared dog, and how you could step to one side and view your nervous system sometimes as slightly external from it. And that's kind of really helped me check in and go, okay, how am I going to care for my nervous system? And having it as my, I call it rather than a spirit animal, it's my little nervous system animal. It's really helped me kind of visualize, it looks tired, it looks manic, it looks, and in a way that's almost slightly helped me apply support to it, and equally maybe has made me feel a bit more self-compassionate because the little bird is me. So yeah, I just thought I'd share those things. But yeah, drumming ideas, guys. Or I don't know what the hell that was about. Some sort of delta wave magic happened. I think I'm going to throw on my HRV monitor as well. I've had enough of self-monitoring. that's going out. Self-compassion comes in.
I love those pieces. Yeah, I mean, with the shamanic drumming, there's a fair bit of that in Bali for sure. My sense is that there's like multiple things potentially happening here. One, there've been actually a number of studies around how when you're in groups of people, the studies were on specifically like singing voices. So when people are singing together, their HRV actually tends to entrain, which is fascinating. Like everyone in the room, their HRV will kind of converge to a midpoint during that time period, which is incredible, like through the electromagnetic fields that it emitted from our hearts. And these can actually be measured. So there's kind of a fascinating piece there. I've experienced a lot of, I guess, like group sound bowls or like sounds journey pieces, which are the frequencies are kind of played such that it does drop you into certain deep, usually like delta gamma brainwave states, which are known to be very deeply relaxing. And so with drumming, drumming is an interesting one because it's generally quite activating, and there might be something about being in a group that is kind of very calming and like co-regulating. And it could have just been that's what your body responded to, and that led to a kind of a deeper relaxation that night. It's an interesting one. I think that there is a lot more research been done towards the effect of music, specifically because music is such a key component of psychedelic research and journeys. Like the music is seen as being like a crucial component, and the neuroscientists like wait, why is it so essential that music is part of this experience to create the kind of outcomes that they're seeing in terms of like curing depression and all these kinds of things. So it's a fascinating one. But I mean, if you find that it's working for you, and even if you're skeptical, but if you feel better during and after the next day, then I'd encourage you to continue and just keep experimenting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think just as a caveat to the HRV, I've got a medical background, and that's muddied me up a whole lot. But anyway, I think the HRV is I think I would probably put a little terms and conditions against it. That when you're ill or you've got a particularly you know, a physical ailment, then I think actually it's quite difficult to monitor it, because I don't think you're calibrating as you naturally would if you were healthy. So I think I think Brandon just said that he's got rid of his HRV monitor, and I think, you know, what I might do is just take that off tonight as well, because I think I'm monitoring something that's not quite measurable with that. Does that make sense? So it's almost like in future, absolutely. I guess it would just be helpful to put that out there to people, because you know, I thought this was the right thing to be doing, to look at my change, but actually I'm not sure it's been that great for me. But that's very personal.
I think it's very wise. And I mean, honestly, like, it's often a good kind of like gateway into tuning more into interoception. So kind of like comparing HRV you actually feel, and then over time just relying on the interoceptive piece much more. And it's far from a perfect measure. I mean, there's people who can be in like deep dorsal shutdown, but they have very high HRV because their parasympathetic nervous system is like ramped up. So they might have a score of like 80 to 100, but actually be in a kind of shutdown space. So it's far from perfect. And yeah, at the very least, like, experiment with not using it for a few weeks, couple of months, and just see how that goes. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I have some ideas about the music.
Yep,
I can share. So I was first introduced to that since Johnny sent me a video, an audio from Sonic Yogi on Spotify, which is all about Tibetan singing bowls. I then ordered my own Tibetan singing bowl. It's absolutely fascinating. I would actually suggest anyone get one, because it's also the experience of having the sensations of you like playing the ball and the sound expanding in the space and in your body. Then if you have a Bluetooth speaker that's strong enough with a subwoofer, I've experimented with playing different healing tracks that have different frequencies, like and so putting the speaker on my body, and so all the vibrations from the bass would actually resonate with different parts of my body every time. And I'm really curious to see, like, every time what area releases, what area constricts. And the other thing is that because I also did EMDR, there are some beats, bilateral stimulation beats, which also have music inside. So while you are listening to music, there's a clicking sound that goes back and forth and helps so much with relaxation.
Yeah, thank you, Yanis. There's also you can buy these kind of tuning forks that are generally set to like different frequencies, and a lot of therapists will place them on different parts of the body. So if you have tension, you can kind of like hit this tuning fork and then place it on the body, and that can be another way of moving whatever stuckness is there. Yeah, I know a lot of people find that helpful. Thank you, Yanis. Did you have anything else to add, Tanya, or was that everything?
All good.
Okay, wonderful. Ocean. Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak. Hello. I wanted to speak to Tanya's question as well about if anyone else has had like similar experiences with drumming and shamanic stuff. Yeah, I did a shamanic. I think it was called like shamanic meditation in a center in London a couple of years ago. And I had no idea what was going to happen. It was just, I just went in, I was like, cool, let's see what happens. And it was a similar thing of like, you know, you're a tree and like all your ancestors around you. And I was like, okay, let's just, you know, go in, be open. And it was such a powerful experience. And I felt so many things like moving in my body, and I could really feel like all of this energy around me and behind me. And I was like, okay, there's something here that somewhere on some level is happening. I'm not going to try and analyze it or over intellectualize it. And so I then had a one-to-one session with the teacher, because I felt like I really resonated with her. And that was like one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. And it was over Zoom. So I was like, I'm not really sure how this is going to work. Like, how is she going to like tap into my energy? Like, surely it needs to be a physical thing. But by going like through the journey with me, and like there was like some music piece, and like it wasn't drumming necessarily, but there was that kind of musical element, and then just like working with the sensation in my body and following that and tracking it. So I guess kind of similar to somatic experiencing. It just brought up so much stuff, and I was able to process stuff on such a deep level. So I think there's definitely something there. And then the other piece that I wanted to offer to you is, so I'm trained in a movement practice called nonlinear movement method, and Tessa, Norma, I think, and Melissa can attest. They've joined a couple. I run it every Thursday for free, and it's basically coupling that piece of like the music. So I don't know the studies, I don't know the science behind it, but it's coupling the music with like the movement and allowing your body to just move however it wants to move in response to the music, in response to what's happening inside you. Is really, it's been one of the most powerful things that I've personally done, and the people that have joined the classes have always said like, this is so useful for me. I feel really connected. So I just wanted to offer that. It might be helpful. Yeah, I'd be so happy to speak more about that as well, because it's oh, Yoda has been to my class. I don't know who Yoda is. But yeah, it's similar to ecstatic dance in the sense that you are just letting your body move however it wants to move, but the music is more shamanic, and it's that very kind of low sort of bassy music, and it just puts you on a different wavelength and frequency, I think, in a similar way to the drumming does. And Lisa, who she joined one, is one of the students here, she said she's done psychedelic experiences, and it was really similar to a psychedelic experience to her, and it was just music and moving. So yeah, there's a whole world out there around this stuff, and I'm really curious to see when there's some actual like science behind it and like why this is useful and happening. And I guess like Rich said, it's, you know, it's ancient, it's in our bones, it's you know, it's been with us since the beginning. So yeah,
I love that. Thank you, Ocean. Yeah, and I mean, I'll share that I've had a couple of excuse me, ayahuasca ceremonies in the last few weeks, and in the beginnings of those ceremonies, my experience was that I could feel the way that the drum and the rattle and the music was actually activating the sensations, and it was almost like there was this kind of dance between the two. And there clearly is something around, whether it's like drums, rattles, kind of low toning as well, which does activate this part of us, this part of our psyche that's usually dormant. And obviously taking plant medicines, things amplify that, but it's very accessible just through movement or breathing practices, things like that. And it's very powerful stuff. So thank you for sharing. Okay, well, we have about 10-15 minutes left. I'd love to open up the space for general questions, requests, or like ideas for improvements, things that Ocean and I can work on in the coming weeks to kind of improve the alumni experience, build resources, create connections, and yeah, really anything else that's alive in you guys. So
just before we jump in, could I give a couple of updates on that?
Yeah, please.
Awesome. So a few of you, many of you actually, said that you would love some kind of regular check-in. And very happy to say that
people want to remember
getting some sound. Yeah, so I'm very happy to announce that we now have a regular slot available. The lovely Pablo will be leading those. They're at 7:30 p.m. EST, first Tuesday of the month. You can find it in the live NSM sessions in Circle. I'm aware that that doesn't work for those in the UK and Europe. So we are also working on, it's shaking your head, sorry. We're working on opening up a slot for us over here. So I'll let you guys know once that's confirmed. And then I think most of you on the call know, so I guess for the benefit of those that are tuning into the recording, is just a reminder that Circle is completely open. You can catch up on the curriculum in your own time, go back to things, pop in, ask questions. Like, it's there, it's a resource. And then if there's anything you need, we're still here in the background. So yeah, I think that was everything.
Okay, thank you, Ocean. And I will, well, firstly, thank you, Pablo, as well, for stepping up and offering to run those sessions. That's really awesome of you. And we are working on updates on our side. You guys are also more than welcome to join the 4th cohort, which starts in September the 25th. You can join 0 cost. And this may well be the last live cohort as well. There's a chance that we'll transition to a kind of more self-paced but like community-based model in spring next year, where people can kind of join at any time, take at their own pace, and we'll be offering monthly Q&A sessions, guest lectures, and just like building more of the community. So that's the way that we're thinking of taking NSM in the future. But in the meantime, if you want to join the next cohort, you're more than welcome to do. Just message me or Ocean, and we'll just make sure that you are in the cohort 4 student list as well. And yeah, so with that said, any final questions, reflections, or suggestions or ideas for things that you think would be awesome for us to create or look into? Vikas, yes.
So just feedback. I think so. There's had mentioned this before. There's like the foundational mental models of what this all is. What does it mean? What's possible? It's like it's an entirely new universe in and of itself, right? And I think about it as, if someone wants to get exercise, this is mental exercise, but someone wants to get physically in shape, let's say. And first they have to like get the mental models that like, this is how the body moves. You can actually get in shape. There's all these preconceived limitations or bad information that they've sucked in through the years. And then there's the actual like doing it. So I think the doing it part is just feedback. I'm still catching up. I think everyone is. There's so much on the breathing and all that. So I'm not sure how to do that in this type of format. But my feedback is, if I were to do it again, I would have wanted to do like condense the mental models, like read about it beforehand or something, and then get into more of the doing. But at the same time, I everyone's got their personal needs. So I know it's just me reflecting on myself, but that's my feedback.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think part of the reason we're considering switching to self-paced next year is because it does tend to take people more than 5 weeks to kind of really not only go through the content, but like really digest it. And I think we're going to try and focus on things like emotional dojos, having like short micro course offerings for people that might want to go deep in functional breathing or deep in working with anger, or kind of more like specific tangents to the material. But yeah, it's definitely a kind of an ongoing challenge, and people also join, with different degrees of knowledge and background as well.
Yeah, like if you had a micro course on like breathing, for example, I'd probably sign up for that, because I feel like I just, because you need repetition, right? The practical things. Yeah. There's the theory, but then there's the execution, and the practical things on the execution, there's no way around it. You just need to keep doing it over and over.
Do the reps. Yep.
And for me to tell myself, I'm gonna do this every day. I've done a decent job, but it helps to have something guided to sign up for and double check I'm doing it the right way. So
yeah, that's great feedback. We could do like a 21 days of NSDR, or, things like that, like mini challenges that would help people to kind of get that. Lots of thumbs up there. Great. Okay.
There's a course, just to give you an example. There's a course for writing. I write, and I saw it was interesting. I haven't signed up for it, but it's something called like Ship 30 for 30, something like that.
Sure. Yep.
And you sign up so that you commit to writing something every single day.
And it's like an accountability
problem with writing is that
with
for that habit, people say they're going to write, but if they haven't written they don't really consistently do it. Until you consistently do it for a period of time, it doesn't get ingrained in your mind.
Yeah, I like that.
So
Yeah, I ran a 30 days of breathwork challenge with my friend Connie a couple of years ago, and we could bring something like that back as well. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the thoughts. Appreciate it. Ethan.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Good to see your faces again. So that inspired. So firstly, self-paced, very cool. I'm still on week 3 myself. And so I think that would be cool. One thing that I would like to see if, it moves to self-paced is like a container that still exists for that sense of community that occurs, like, maybe it's agnostic to the week that it is. Like you said, monthly Q&As. I think something like, in addition to Q&A, just more of like a container where people can be and discuss like with each other, which I guess maybe is what you're imagining for a Q&A. But for me, I think the support of a community that's more frequent than once per month would be really beneficial. And then to like bounce off of that last idea, oh shoot, what we were just talking about, and I got sidetracked into that other thought. Emotional dojos, weekly
themed explorations, creating a sense of community.
Yeah, well, it's before I even started talking. Vikas and you were discussing it, and maybe I'll just remember and bring it back.
Or maybe the mini courses around the breath work or the
So the mini courses, like the mini courses, like the 30 days of NSDR, you said that, and that sounds fantastic. I don't know if you can break them out in circle specifically for that challenge where and so like people could like hop in and do weeklies or whatever for just that challenge. That would be really cool, because I started doing ape exploration every day, and like my life is just so much better.
Oh wow. That's amazing.
It's a great way to start the day. Like my spine is just, it's like, oh, my spine and my body, wow. So I just also wanted to say thank you.
Thank you so much. These are really great ideas. And another kind of thing that came through in the feedback forms quite a lot was around like creating kind of recipes or like kind of starting points for certain protocols that you can do for like every day for 10 days or every day for 2 weeks. And I think I strayed away from that because I didn't want it to be too prescriptive, knowing that everyone had different time constraints. But at the same time, if it's like as a mini course and that's just what you're specifically signing up for, then I think it could really work in that context. So yeah, that's definitely something for Ocean and I to chat about. Yeah, this is great. Okay, Yanis.
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts. I really would love to see, I'm guessing the self-paced course would have video as well. I would love to see you in video. Like the podcast is nice and the written word, but I would prefer so much for you to teaching the lessons in video. So that's one thing. Another thing would be like double down on anger, like because I always want to find more effective and less harmful to my body ways of releasing anger. And if it's not like sessions like Art of Accomplishment, because I know there is another context there, like resources or examples or methods for releasing anger and getting out of dorsal and just being able to process it. Another thing would be nutrition. I found nutrition to be so beneficial. Depending on what I eat, I can interocept better. It's just because of the eating. So I would love to hear, because I know the energy that you bring into stuff. I have a vision of you teaching nutrition and nervous system that would be like phenomenal in marrying these two. Yeah. And another thing would be like, if we have, I remember in the worksheet that we were to do that if then for our daily lives, that if that happens, then I can do that to regulate. Like if we could build a list of sample situations and what people do to actually work through the activation and the overwhelm. Like let's say if I'm in traffic or if I'm waiting in an agency, or if I get upset with my spouse, like having some examples that we can actually, read through instead of trying to come up with our own, which is awesome. But I think it would be a valuable resource to have a list of things that, okay, if I have this situation, then I can do this.
These are amazing suggestions. Thank you. Let me speak. Try and speak to all of them briefly. Video protocols. Yes, I've just bought a really fancy new camera, and the intention is to at least begin recording the breath work and the protocols, and then eventually down the line the theory as well. It's gonna take some time to redo that. Anger as well. It's also one of the topics that I think people tend to have breakthroughs around, and also people get stuck around. So I think at the very least creating like a micro course around working with anger, and maybe doing like anger pop-ups similar to the AOA format, but I think only for people who've been through the core foundational NSM curriculum, and with some very clear kind of like boundaries and like guidance, because that can also go wrong if it's not done in the right way. So I'd want to be cautious with that. Nutrition, I agree with you. I think for that, I'm not an expert in nutrition, but I do know some people who are very knowledgeable in that domain. So I think that might be a case of like partnering with someone and like co-designing a piece. And I love the idea for like maybe even like crowdsourcing the if this then that. I mean, I could come up with a bunch of examples, but I bet that like we could ask the community of now like 500 people, like in these like 15 challenging scenarios, what are some things that help you?
Exactly.
And then maybe curate those as well. That's a really fun idea. Cool. Yeah, thank you. Amazing. Okay, Ethan, we've got a few minutes left here.
Yeah, I think Yoda had their hand up before me, and I need to go soon, but I wrote it in the chat.
Oh, cool.
Like, okay. I was thinking like practice groups where we had those the breakout exercises, and then we would have our group for 6 minutes, and then we'd return to a lesson. But I think, and that was really cool. And I think if we were to do that for a chunk of time where we like rotated through people, almost like a dance lesson, like rotate through everybody. Like practicing same exercise with different groups of people, I think would be fun.
Nice. I love that idea. And I've been exploring like creating games and scenarios for some of this work as well. And I think it could be fun to create like hypothetical scenarios in order to work through some of the practices and kind of have fun with it in that way as well.
Like role playing and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yoda, is Yoda still here? Did Yoda just jumped off?
Oh no! I tried to be quick.
No, that's my. I didn't see him.
It's Lisa. I'm talking to her on Monday, so I'll find out what she was going to say, and I'll let you know.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, okay, we're out of time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this. Really appreciate your time. If you have any other thoughts, questions, ideas, things, send Ocean or I an email or a DM in Circle. Yeah, and in the meantime, have a wonderful summer. Yeah, stay regulated out there.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good summer.
See you guys soon.
Bye, everyone. Have a good time.
Yeah, great summers.
Get drumming.